What's up, everybody? This is episode 126 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Shout outs to everybody that's been supporting us thus far. For those who haven't seen any of our episodes, go check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. But before we start, we got to pay some bills real quick. So this episode is sponsored by the Player Circle. I discovered the Player Circle in the App Store when trying to find a product to track athletes. The Player Circle is a social video platform where players can share their stats, highlights, and accomplishments. So if you want to hoop and you want to get discovered, then you should join the Player Circle. So check that out on the App Store right now. It's a great app. But tonight, we have a very special guest tonight. You've seen this man, for those from Newark, New Jersey, you know him as a pillar of the community, a philanthropist, a family man, but also a mentor to many in the basketball community and just the community, period. For those outside of Newark, you probably seen him in the series Best Shot. Well, tonight I have with us Mr. Shawn McCray. Coach, thank you for coming on to share your testimony.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Indeed. So my very first question for you is, being that you are a coach, what's Shawn McCray's coaching philosophy?
Coaching philosophy, I consider myself a player's coach. I kind of let my players, play their own style. I have my own system, but it's really a basic system. Just like basic plays, quick hitters, and I like the press, but I don't hinder my guys. Like, I don't make them robots. I hate kids that, turn into robots and don't understand their full potential. So I pretty much let them do them until, I feel as though they're doing a little bit too much. My guys play, man. I love my guards. I love point guards that know how to play, know how to think the game. And if I got a point guard like that, I pretty much give them free reign.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry, Coach. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, I'm just saying I'm a player. I'm a player coach. I let my guys do pretty much their own thing. I don't put the seatbelt on them, man. I let them play.
Indeed. So yeah, let's talk about, when did basketball first begin for you?
For me, as a player or a coach?
Either or. Let's say as a player.
As a player, probably, I played in my neighborhood. I grew up in the neighborhood projects here in Newark. And, we used to play on the basketball court and things like that. But I didn't play organized until I got in the 7th grade.
Indeed. So talk about growing up in Newark, New Jersey. And what was the basketball culture out like there?
What was the basketball culture?
Mm-hmm. And just growing up in Newark.
Newark, like I said, I grew up in the projects in Newark, Hayes Home projects. They actually tore them down now. They actually tore all the projects down here in Newark. We still have some low rises, but all the high rise projects have been torn down in the last 15, 20 years. So everybody is scattered out through the city. But, growing up in the projects, I think, that might have been the best thing for me, because back then, I came up in the 70s and early 80s. And, back then it was a little bit more love within the community. You know what I'm saying? The Panther movement was dying out a little bit, but, my parents and my friends' parents, came from that era. So it was a little bit more structure and discipline and love. And just growing up in Newark, man, my childhood was great, man. I tell a lot of these kids now, like, I don't know what type of childhood y'all growing up in, because it don't seem like they having fun. We have fun as kids, and we were allowed to be kids at 13, 14, 15 years old. We didn't have like adult responsibilities like a lot of kids have now. So, we had a lot of great players that came out in the 70s and the 80s, and, you had to compete, man. If you went to a playground and you lost, so, the culture here it's just like hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. All right, perfect. So, Coach, yeah, you were talking about when you were growing up, everybody pardon us for the technical difficulties, but yeah, when you were growing up, you said that you guys were allowed to be kids at a young age, whereas now a lot of the kids are growing up quick.
Right. They're growing up. They're just not having, we were okay with going outside was we loved being outside. We didn't love being in the house. The kids now, they could be in the house all day because they have so many electronic gadgets to keep them busy. Being in the house when I was growing up was punishment. And, that, and seriously, like if you kept running back and forth in the house, mom would make you stay in the house. Mom would make you stay in the house. And, you didn't want to be in the house. So we was outside all day playing, and we did a lot of different things. And, I grew up in a neighborhood, a high crime neighborhood, but if something was about to happen, the older guys would tell us to go, go in the house. Like, something about to go down, y'all don't need to be out here. Now it's like ride through, and whoever out there, it is what it is. The culture is just totally different. Yeah. Everybody looked out for each other's kids back in the day. Now it's like, don't say nothing to mine, and I don't say nothing to yours. And, the village has fell off a whole lot.
Yeah, because a lot of people, I think, you know what it is, Coach? The fact that they're afraid of getting ACS called on them. That's one. And two, It's like they probably feel like if you tell them something, they feel like you kind of threatening their parenting.
I understand that, but we can't even discipline the kids now. The kids need discipline. If we don't discipline them, somebody else going to discipline them. And I don't think, other than people in the community, I don't think people outside the community should be disciplining children. And when I say outside the community, I'm talking law enforcement, the juvenile detention centers, the courts, they're disciplining our kids because they're not letting the parents be parents. Like you said, everybody's scared. They're going to get, we call it diapers over here. They're going to get diapers called on them. And, nobody wants to hit their child, man. Sometimes these kids need to be choked a little bit. I'm just keeping it 100. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I ain't trying to hurt nobody, but, and I'm old school. I coach old school. Like, I get in your face, I yell, but at the same time, I pat you on the back, too, like, to let you know that, this is what I'm doing, but I still got love for you. Like, but you can't do what you want to do. You know what I mean? And a lot of these kids don't get that discipline at home. Yeah. And then you got to redirect them. And it takes some time because they're so used to doing something else. And, you're trying to get them to do the right thing. And sometimes they think what they're doing is the right thing. And, it's just sometimes it's the neighborhood and the home they grow up in. They see so much bad that they think they doing right. You know what I mean? If you could understand what I'm saying.
Indeed. No, I definitely understand completely. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in a single parent household. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the first person in my household to graduate from college. So that's a big thing for me. And then I got my little brother that's 15 years old that's coming up. You know what I'm saying? He's about to finish his freshman year. So
you said you got your brother that's 15. You got a 15-year-old brother?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is he into ball?
Nah, but he likes basketball. He watches. He plays 2K. He watches the games on TV. So that's what he likes. But yeah. So moving forward, what were some of the tournaments in Newark or Jersey period that you liked as a youth that you loved playing?
Well, I played AAU here in Newark, and at the time it was called the Newark Rams. Well, excuse me, the Newark YMCA. That's where I played AAU basketball at. And when I played AAU, that was the only team in northern New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? So when I played, the competition was tough. Practices probably was the best when I played for the Newark Y because at that time, I don't know how far you go back with basketball, but you know, Ala Abdenabi, I played with him. He went to Duke. Dave Rivers, Kenny Wilson, I went to Villanova. You know, we had our AAU team was tough, man. We had some ballers, man. And just traveling. That was the first time I ever got on the plane playing AAU basketball. I think I was like 15, and you know, that was just the thrill for me. Like when we got that call and said we going on a trip, get on the plane or ride down to DC or go over to New York and play. Like that was a thrill for me. You know, I just wanted to get out of my neighborhood, out of my comfort zone, and go out and play. You know, a lot of people think they can play, but then when you go out of your comfort zone, you run into kids like 15 years old at 6'10", and you don't see that in your neighborhood. And it's like, wow, you know, this is a different culture. So you really got to step your game up. So I just love the traveling aspect of playing AAU basketball here in the city of Newark. And it's crazy because as of this moment right now, there's no AAU high school team in the city of Newark.
That's a shame.
That's a shame. I'm telling you, basketball going to be tough over here in the next couple of years, man, especially after this pandemic when nobody was really doing anything.
Yeah, man. I agree. I mean, everything's starting to pick up back out over here in New York. You know, the tournament's about to start up again.
Right.
Yeah, it's all over. So yeah. So what high school did you play for?
Well, I went to St. Benedict's for 3 years. Yeah, I was at Benedict's. I actually got an academic scholarship out of the elementary school I went to, which was St. Rocco's at the time. They're now closed, but yeah, I got an academic scholarship actually to go to Seton Hall Prep, St. Benedict's, and at the time Essex Catholic, who's closed now. So I chose St. Benedict's because first of all, they was in Newark and they was walking distance from my house where I lived. So I went there for 3 years. I hated it. I tried to get out of there every year, and it didn't work out. But I played there. I played freshman JV, and I was on varsity my junior year. Back at that time, Catholic schools over here, if you wasn't an exceptional player, you didn't play on varsity. You had to go through the freshman JV and then play varsity your junior year. So I played varsity at St. Benedict's, and I actually went to St. Benedict's all the way up until October of my senior year. And then, you know, the headmaster, you know, I hate when I have to say that, but that's what they call him, the headmaster, Father Ed, walked in, and I was on my free period, and he asked me what I was doing. I said, well, I'm on my free period. And he said, you know, you're not graduating. And I said, well, what do you mean I'm not graduating? You know, in Catholic school, you needed a little bit more than you needed in public school. So I was tanking on purpose. Not that I couldn't do the work, but I always thought they was going to kick me out. And they never did. So the next day, you know, I went home that night and I told my mother that, you know, they said I'm not going to graduate and I'm on schedule to graduate if I go to public school. So I transferred and went to Central, where I was trying to get for 3 years. Wow. And I finally went to Central my senior year because that's where all my friends were, from my neighborhood. And I was about 4 or 5 blocks from St. Benedict. So I would see my friends every day after school walking by. And, you know, I just wanted to be where they was at. And then St. Benedict's was all boys. You know, I wasn't really beat for that either.
Yeah, but, I know you was tight because, like, damn, you see the girls walking by to Newark Arts and all that. And like, damn, I got to be with dudes all day. I went to all boys high school too. And it was, the way I looked at it, was like, yo, you went to school and you did what you had to do. But it was also gladiator school. So dudes had to, they had to get their knuckle game up.
Yeah. Well, now at St. Benedict's wasn't like that. You know, a lot of the kids that went there were from the outskirts of Newark. So, you know, they kind of
from the burbs, right?
They was from the burbs, right? So I'm a kid from the projects, and it's really my first time around, you know, white kids and going to school with Spanish kids. Like, you know, it was a different element for me too, but I adapted to it because, you know, that's just how I was brought up, to adapt to any situation that I'm in. But yeah, St. Benedict's was a different culture for me. You know, these guys was coming to school, clothes nice and done. You know, I'm rocking maybe 3-4 pair of slacks that I got, you know, that I gotta last me till the next time we go to the laundry or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I'm coming from a different culture, but I adapted to it. You know what I'm saying? It taught me a lot of discipline too, man, because I didn't have my father in my life. So St. Benedict's kind of taught me some discipline as well.
Yeah, man. Shout out to all these Catholic schools out there. You know what I'm saying? My brother goes to Cardinal Hayes. So I understand, I understand the discipline part, you know, because these priests and nuns, they're no joke at all.
Word, and you can't disrespect them as much as you want to. You can't do it. But
they'll kick you out in a heartbeat.
Well, they wouldn't kick me out, man. I don't know why, man. I mean, they was getting money from me because, like I said, I had an academic scholarship.
Yeah.
So my mom wasn't paying. So that money was coming from somewhere, and that probably was guaranteed money. Yeah. So, you know, to kick me out, you lose that money or whatever. But after I got a little older, I figured out it probably was a money thing why they didn't put me out. But, you know, it was cool. I went to Central, and I got there right before, like I said, I went there in October of my senior year over
85.
here. Yeah, or 84, I went to Central. I graduated, you know, June of 85, but I got there October 84. And tryouts was in November. So I got there like a month before tryouts. All my friends, you know, they're like, "Oh, you coming here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know, we had a pretty good year that year too, man." But, you know, that was probably the best move I think I ever made, man, honestly.
Shout outs to the Newark Central graduating class of 1985.
That's right. That's right.
So how was your recruitment coming out of high school?
Well, technically, I had a couple of D1 offers, but I didn't score well on the SAT. My GPA was so low because I was at St. Benedict's tanking. You know, if I would have known what I knew, I probably would have took the books more serious because that's what got me there, academics. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to be there, so I'm kind of failing on purpose, and it caught up with me my last year of high school. Like I said, I played AAU. I had a scholarship offer from Monmouth University. Ron Cornegay was the coach at the time. But, you know, it didn't work out for me. I had St. Peter's coming out as well. But I went to a junior college for 2 years. So I had to go to junior college route because I didn't take the book serious. So I use that as a tool with my kids too, because I understand. Well, I don't really understand because I did it on purpose, but, you know, I try to tell them, you know, you still got a light at the end of the tunnel. Don't think because you know, your grade's not right that you can't go to college. Because a lot of teachers tell these kids, you can't get in college with these grades, but it's junior colleges all over the country, and that's what they're there for. You know what I'm saying?
Like, and it's like, the school that I'm working at right now, like they just gave these kids the New York City Department of Education just gave these kids some type of loophole where, as long as they had a certain amount of Regents exams and a certain amount of credits, that they just give them their GED right on the spot.
Wow.
And then that's what they're doing with a lot of the alternative school kids, because it's like without that, COVID has given these kids so many benefits. So without stuff like this, there'd be no way for them to graduate. They'd still be on these schools' registers. And it's like, not only are these kids benefiting, but more so the schools, because it's like they're getting these kids off their register.
Right. But I mean, they want to get them off because the grade's going to reflect, you know, the GPA is going to reflect a lot of things. But I mean,
numbers.
We was just in a pandemic. So, I mean, a lot of stuff got to get overlooked too, man. I mean, you know, people say these kids had it easy at home and they should be passing. But a lot of these kids, man, they try to get out of that environment because a lot of them not in good situations, you know what I'm saying, when they in the house all day. So school is like a out for them, you know what I mean?
Safe haven.
Right, it's a safe haven for a lot of the kids, and for them to be home, you know, I'm not saying everybody being verbally, physically, emotionally abused, but it goes on in our communities, man. And, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes our kids need that out. Absolutely. And, you know, having them stuck home all day and, you know, you don't know what's going on. You don't know who in the house with them. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of factors, man, that you know, that interferes with our kids growing as, you know, as human beings.
Most definitely. Now, what junior high school did you go to? I'm sorry, junior college.
Yeah,
I went to. What did you go to?
I went to Keystone. It's actually a Division III school now.
Florida. Okay.
No. This up in La Plume. It's in La Plume, PA, right outside of Scranton.
Okay.
It's right. So it's up in PA. It was about an hour and a half from Newark. My college coach at the time, Mr. Daniels, he drove me up there. I was supposed to go to Essex County at the time. The legendary coach and player here in the city of Newark, Cleo Hill. he was coaching at Essex County College, which is the local college here in Newark. But I wanted to go away, man. I've been around, I've been in Newark all my life up until that time, and I just wanted to go somewhere else and just see how other people live. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when I got the opportunity to go up there, I took the opportunity, and I did well up there, man. We went to the National Junior College Championship my freshman year, and I was sixth man. And, we lost in the championship to Parkland, Illinois, and they just had all these, man, their whole team was like 6'8", 6'9". But, we did well. So I did well up there my freshman year, you know what I'm saying? So it was pretty good. It was big expectations my sophomore year because me and like three other freshmen were coming back, and we played a lot. So it was big expectations the next year because that was the first time they ever even won the region when we was up there. So, yeah, we had a pretty good team. Our best player was supposed to go to Maryland. He was a sophomore. His name was Rick Eubanks. He was from Maryland too, and he was good, man. But that's the year Len Bias died, man. And Lefty Drizel got they got Lefty Drizel out of there, and he ended up not even going anywhere. From that overdose, it kind of messed up his plan. Yeah, so I had pretty good years up there. I got injured into my sophomore year with my knee. I finished out the season, but we got knocked out of the playoffs like second round. So that was like a bad season because we were supposed to, we was predicted to win the region again because we had, 4 players returning from that team. And, it didn't work out that way.
Mm. So shout outs to the Keystone College graduating class of 1987.
Yeah, but I was 6 credits short, man. That's I was 6 credits short of graduation, man. And again, I'm from urban America. My mom was living off public assistance. Mm-hmm. I had to pay about, I want to say $600 to take those 2 classes and find an apartment to live in the summer. It just wasn't happening. Nothing could be done. I didn't have any family that had money to help me out and get me out of that situation. So I was going to St. Peter's. I had committed to St. Peter's. I went on a visit, and I ain't graduated. Back then, you had to graduate. You had to have 60 college credits to go to Division I. I had 54, I want to say. And I just transferred my credits to Caldwell University, it was NAIA at the time, but they Division II right now. So I just transferred there. So another scholarship I couldn't get. And, it bothered me because I felt I could play Division I, and I wanted to play Division I, but it just didn't work out. But when I went to Caldwell, we played 6 Division I teams that year. And that was their first year ever having a men's basketball team. And right out the gate, we played 6 Division I colleges.
Was Seton Hall one of them?
No, we played Fairleigh Dickinson and Teaneck, Ryder. We went down to Maryland, played Townsend. We played Loyola, Maryland. We played a few schools. We played a few schools, Division I, but we competed, man. I was transfer, me and a couple other junior college guys, and we had some good freshmen, man. The coach recruited some good kids, man, and he had a hell of a year, man. We played that 1 year, and he bounced on us, man. He went to another college, so he used that as a stepping stone to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Mm. Yeah, so it was cool, though. It was cool.
Yeah, man. So talk about going to Caldwell, because, they've been on the come up the last 20 years or so with basketball. Talk about being one of the founding fathers of that program.
Yeah, and it's crazy because my coach is still the coach, man. It's crazy. Wow. I don't know how this guy's. Yeah, I came out of there and I graduated in 90, but my eligibility was up in 89. So I actually did 5 years because when I transferred, I lost credit. So I had to go an extra year to graduate. But so that was 30, almost 20, no, it's like 30 years ago. Mm. This guy's still up there. He's still coaching. But I kind of, Caldwell is funny, man, because that's when my street life kind of took off while I was at Caldwell University. So my junior year, I had a very good year, man. I averaged like 21 points. I want to say like 12 rebounds. I fared well against the Division I competition, which I was proud of myself for that because I always wanted to see if I could play at that level. And I competed against those guys. And then the following year, we played like 4 Division I schools. So played like 10 Division I schools in the 2 years I was there. But I had a good year. And after the season was over, I had got an invite to try out for this overseas team. I had to go down in Florida, try out for the team. If I made the team, I could go overseas. But if I tried out and didn't make it, I would forfeit my senior year eligibility. So I felt like, why go try out? If I had a good season, next year probably going to be better. I'll still get that same invite and maybe more invites to something else. But, you know, like I said, in 87, I transferred to Caldwell in 87. That started my street life, man. I started, you know, my friends was coming to the games. They got the big Dookie chains on about, you know, that's the time, you know, Run DMC, LL.
They paid in full era.
Yeah, the paid in full era. And it's like, they coming to the game, big wads of money, leather jackets on. And I'm like, wow, well, what's going on? And my neighborhood kind of changed when I came back from Keystone. The neighborhood changed. And it was, the money was, you know, in the late 80s, that's when the money started flowing back in the crack era and all that. Yeah. And I wanted a part of that, man. Nobody forced my hand. Nobody made me do it. I had like 20, 25 of my friends coming to the game. And, you know, they would hit me off because I'm in college or whatever. But I wanted my own money. So, you know, I started dibbing and dabbling, going back off campus. I lived, I think, Newark is only 20-minute drive from where I was at Caldwell. So at the time, I was taking public transportation. So I'm home in 40 minutes, you know what I'm saying? So I go home on the weekends, do my 1-2, go back to college. So I wasn't really focused like I should have been on the basketball part of it. So the following year, you know, we got a new coach who's there now, Mark Carino. His style was a little different. You know, walk the ball up, 5 passes, this and that. The coach before that, you open shoot, like, you know, was scoring 80 points a game. So the game changed for me a little bit. I wasn't happy because we wasn't playing the same style. Then at the same time, I'm getting a little money. So I don't really have to be here. I could go back home, make some money, whatever. But I ended up averaging like 16 that year, maybe like 9 rebounds. We had a better record, but I didn't have the season I had previous. So I didn't get those same calls, you know. And then I wasn't really interested because I was really getting money, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to be back home in the streets, you know, in my projects, making some money. So that kind of messed me up, you know, as far as like the basketball aspect of it.
Yeah, man. Well, first and foremost, shouts to the Caldwell College graduating class of 1990.
Yeah.
Now,
go ahead.
Nah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, I got my degree in sociology. I had a minor in criminal justice, and I took criminal justice because I felt as though if I was going to be in the streets, I need to know the law a little bit because, you know, we don't know too much when we out there. So that kind of, I got a little information from that, and I kind of used that to my advantage. But yeah, I mean, 30 years later, I just finally got inducted into the Hall of Fame up there. And like you said, I played on the first team ever. I'm the first 1,000-point scorer in the school. I had 1,000 points in 2 years. So that record still stands. I'm actually seventh or eighth on the all-time list, but I'm number 1 for somebody to do it in 2 years. So, you know, the street life kind of stopped me from, I should have been in the Hall of Fame, you know, and it kind of always bothered me that I wasn't in it because, you know, I kind of laid the foundation for that program. And, you know, for me not to be in it, and then I understood why I wasn't in it. You know, I got arrested a few times doing that. Actually, when I was in school, I did get arrested a couple of times. So I think that kind of hindered them of putting me in the Hall of Fame because of the stuff I was doing off campus. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, and I actually got kicked off campus because they came on campus the year I wasn't even playing. I was on my last year, and I got arrested on campus. And they told me, you know, I couldn't even live on campus. So my last semester, I had to commute. And, you know, I got the job done. You know, I wasn't going to let that stop me from graduating because I was 1 semester away from graduation. So I'm in the Hall of Fame. I got inducted in 2018, I believe. Yeah, 2018, I went into the Hall of Fame at Caldwell.
But yeah, getting arrested on campus, I know that was humiliating right there.
Actually, nobody really knew but my roommate, man, because they came, police, they come at 5, 6 in the morning, man. They ain't coming, you know what I'm saying? So
Wow.
they came at 6 in the morning. And it's funny, man, back then, we had beepers and stuff. We had no cell phone. And my beeper went off like 5:30 in the morning. And I looked at it. It was my house, where my mom was living. And she was beeping me. And, I kind of ignored it. She beat me again.
Oh, because they came to the crib looking for you.
And never knew I was in college. You know
wow.
What I'm saying? Yes.
Yo, that's crazy.
They rounded up a lot of my friends, so they didn't know I was in college. So she told them where I was at. And I'm like, you told them where I'm at?
Wow.
Yeah, my mom didn't play, man. Like she didn't lie about much, man. And yes, and I called her back and I'm like, what's going on? She's like, the police just came here looking for you and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, what they looking for me for? Because, at the time I wasn't really doing anything. And because I had caught a previous charge before that. So I kind of fell back a little bit. So I was just trying to graduate. And I was on the phone booth, man. And I looked up, it was a white guy standing there with a DEA jacket on. And he opened the phone booth. He was like, you Shawn McCray? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, all right, go put some clothes on. You coming with us? And I'm like, wow. I walked out the dorm, helicopter hovering overhead. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't getting out of this one, whatever it is.
That kind of reminds me of that Ice Cube video. The end of today was a good day.
Right.
Going in to check yourself when the cops surrounded his crib. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's why I could talk to these kids all day about the streets and school and not doing schoolwork, and because I experienced all, like, majority of it. You know what I'm saying? Like getting locked up and letting people down. Like I can sit there and tell them that story. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been through it.
Yeah, man. I know that was crazy. So after college, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know it was hard to find employment, being with the the arrest record and all that. Like, how tough was it, like, trying to find work after that?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I ain't even looked for work, man. I was all in, man. I graduated college in 1990, and honestly, man, I didn't get a job in my field until 1998, man. So I was 8 years running hard in the streets with a college degree, running with jokers. Not saying they wasn't intelligent, but all they had was high school degrees. And I got my BA, and I'm on the block, getting the hustle on. You know what I'm saying? For 8 years, I dibbled and dabbled in a couple of jobs, but I was really in the streets for 8 years, man. And I got lucky, man. A couple of cases got dismissed. I got something expunged off my record, so I was able to get in the school system, and I'm good now. It's like I've never been arrested before, so I don't have no problem telling that story either. But
God is good, man.
Yeah. I mean, I got lucky, man. I mean, I've been in a lot of situations in those 8 years. Actually, I was 11 years because I started in 87. So, but after I graduated college, man, I went hard, man. I was in New York a lot, man. I was running with, wasn't running with them. I ain't gonna say I was running with them, but I interacted a lot because my friends was cool with AZ and Whip Wop and Pretty Tone and all those mob style guys, man. Like we was in Harlem all the time, man. All the time we was in Harlem, man.
One of my favorite films of all time, Paid in Full.
Yeah, I tell people that movie was real. They tweaked a little bit of it, but I told them I know those dudes. You know what I'm saying? They came over here. We used to have celebrity basketball games. I was running with the Zoo Crew at the time. And, they would come over and play in the games. And, we had ties with Tretch and Queen Latifah. And, Old Dirty used to hang over here on Chadwick, rest in peace. Like, we was somebody at that time over here, man.
Now, yeah, let's segue into that. The original Zoo Crew. Let's talk about that Zoo Crew era in the 90s.
Yeah, that was a tough era, man. I mean, we had Newark, man. I mean, we was... And people use that Zoo Crew name as we started it as a drug organization, and we didn't. We was always community people even before that. Like, Zoo Crew was started because a couple of my friends was throwing parties. Like, we used to go to the rink in Bergenfield, and, you know, just the vibe of the New York people in the rink and things like that. One of my friends is a skating rink over here. So he started renting out the skating rink and tried to bring that vibe. It was in Union, New Jersey, Skate 22. So he would rent it out every Wednesday. And then after a while, we started throwing parties. So it was like, you know, back then everybody had their own little groups or whatever. So we had to come up with a name, and that's the name we came up with, Zoo Crew, because we felt like the police treated, you know, young Black men as animals. So it's like, hey, let's be the Zoo Crew then, you know, and it stuck. And we got shirts. Yeah, we got shirts made. And now when we throw a party or a block party, our block parties used to be, man, humongous. We had Chris Webber out here one time on the block rolling dice.
So
Chris Webber talking about the...
Was this like
Chris
around draft week or something like that?
Nah, he was actually in the league at this time, but he was rolling heavy with Tretch from Naughty by Nature.
Wow, and, that's true. Yeah, Tretch is actually from Newark.
But you know, he claimed, you know, he's Starnes, but he's from Newark. But you know, Webber out here rolling dice, talking about Bank Green, and you like, you know, nobody ain't trying him or nothing because of the respect we had in the city. But it was started for throwing parties and just bringing the youth together, because at that time we 21, 22. I might have been the oldest one out the crew, and the youngest at that time, I think I was 21, 22. Youngest might have been 16. So, you know, we just wanted people to have fun, man, and just turned into the, you know, they flipped it, you know, after they did the federal raid and everything, they flipped it and made us a drug organization, and people ran with it. And I still get flack from city officials over here because I still use the name, but the name was built on loyalty, man. It wasn't built on nothing else, and community activism, man. That's all it was.
So, yeah, when did the Zoo Crew... Matter of fact, let me ask you this. When did you make the decision to leave, you know, the streets alone?
Well, actually, it was a young lady got killed over here. Her name was Danette Strawberry Daniels. She was murdered by Newark police. She wasn't doing anything wrong. They thought she was buying drugs, but for some reason, they put her in the car. They handcuffed her to the front, and she climbed over the car, over the back seat, because it wasn't a regular police cruiser. It was like an unmarked car. She climbed over the seat for whatever reason, I don't know, put the car in reverse. The cop jumped in the car, and boom, he killed her, shot her right in the head. So the community went crazy. You know what I'm saying? So and it happened in our area where we were, and we stood up. The current mayor here, Raj Baraka, he was an activist at the time. His father, rest in peace, Amiri Baraka, he was an activist from the 60s and 70s, and he came down on the scene and he riled the people up, and the people just started wilding, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was wrong what they did, and we became the face of those marches. And at the time, we in the streets, and now you're talking about politics. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of didn't even out, because you can't be in the streets and then indulge in politics. So now, who are these people and what are they doing? Now you bringing light to yourself. So that's what kind of happened. And 6 months later, they did a federal raid, and you know, at the time, the mayor was Sharp James, so he kind of sided with the people. He suspended the cop. The cops didn't like it, so it was all out war on Zoo Crew. Man, they was giving us all types of problems. But
it was basically open season on y'all.
It was open season on Zoo Crew, and that's what happened. And then in that happened in 97. That happened in like June 97. The raid came in August of 97. So they was telling us they had a year-long investigation, which they didn't. The investigation started right after we started protesting. So people went to jail. You know, people went to jail, and that morning, I remember August 20-something of 1997, somebody had called me and was like, yo, they rounding up members of the Zoo Crew. And I'm like, who rounding up members? They're like, the feds. And I'm like, yeah, seriously? So I'm be honest, I went and sat in my living room, man. I was still living with my mom at the time. I went and sat in the living room, and I waited for them to kick the door in, man, like I said in the documentary. And it never, like I said, it never happened. Like, they never came. I mean, my best friend went to jail. He did like 13 years. They found no drugs. They eventually gave him 30, tried to charge him with kingpin. And, you know, he actually went in there and got read some books and got with some people, and he did 13, and he's home now. But he was the height of the investigation because he on Channel 724 and on City Hall steps saying he was a witness to what was going on, and he was one of the most notorious drug dealers in Newark. So you kind of put yourself out there. So, and, he went to jail, and a few of my other friends. Everybody's home now that went to jail. Mm-hmm. Actually, one person died in jail. But, everybody else is home. So that stigma kind of still sits in the city, like, and then people see me as like, oh, you still got the Zuku name. Yeah, those are my friends, man. You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm not changing the name. But, I was scared. I thought I was going to jail. And, and after that happened, I said, I got to get a job. The girl I was with at the time was pregnant. And so this was my first child. I got to get myself together. I got a degree. I don't really have nothing scarring me to stop me from getting a job. So I went and got a job in 98. In February 98, I finally went and got a job working in mental health here in Irvington, New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was a position that you held for 7 years. Talk about working in that field.
Mental health, it's worse now, man. I mean, it wasn't this bad when I was in, because I was a case manager for adults 18 and over. So what we would do, we would go out in the community. I covered the south part of Newark and Irvington, so I kind of knew when I saw some of the names, I'm like, oh, wow, they got a mental illness. And, you're thinking it's like everybody got a mental illness now. But it was rough, man. Anybody that I knew, and my supervisor gave me a case, and I'm like, look at the address and the name. And I'm like, nah, I can't go. I could go in the area, but people knew I was working for mental health. I didn't want to put nobody business out there, like going to their house. And they're like, what you doing around here? And I'm like, oh, I work for Essex County Mental Health. And it's like, oh, who you coming to see? That you really couldn't tell people.
People are nosy.
Right. So I didn't want to put myself out there like that and jeopardize people that live in the community that got a mental illness. So if I knew the person, I would tell my supervisor. And then she knew, I was from the community. I was working with kids at the time. And so I kind of, she wouldn't give me those people. She would give me a lot of older people. And what we did was just link them to services that they might need to help them, be productive out in the community, because a lot of them didn't know services that was available to them. So that's what we did. And I did that for a year, for 1998. I went in the school system 05. Yeah, so I did that for 7 years.
Now let's talk about the youth program that you started in 1996.
Right.
So well, how did you go about starting that?
Well, actually, I was coaching. I had my first team when I was 16, man. I was coaching kids in my neighborhood when I was 16, when I should have been, working on my own game in the summer. And I used to take them to a local it's called New Community. It's like a neighborhood, like a few blocks from where I was living in the projects, and they ran a summer league over there. And the guy let me put a team in because I was hanging over there at the time. And I coached my brother and them for 2 years. And then I just was doing summer league stuff, because then I went away to college. I would come home in the summer, put some kids together, put them in local leagues. And then in 96, my old coach for the Newark Y, he still had an AAU program, but he was under Newark Rams. And I took some kids to try out. And, a couple of them made it, but the fee was like $250. And these kids didn't have the money. And, I didn't really want the kids to know. At the time, I was trying to fade away from the drug thing, so I kind of fell back a lot. No. So I didn't want to let. At the time, I wasn't working. So now, if I come up with all the money, and they start like, where you getting money from? So yeah. I didn't want to bring the kids into what I was doing. So when a couple of them didn't make it, and I thought they was good enough, and the ones that did make it, he was asking for money, which I understood. So I went back to the block, and I talked to a couple of my friends, and they was like, yo, you be coaching kids in the summer. Why don't you just do your own AAU team? And I'm like, man, I don't know how to do that. They traveling. I don't know how to get into all that. So I actually reached back out to my old coach that was coaching the Newark Rams, and he started giving me tournaments to go to and things like that. And I took kids from the neighborhood. Like, I took anybody. I didn't cut any kids. And we competed, man. It was some good little hungry kids in that neighborhood I was in at the time on Clinton and Chadwick. And, you know, they was ready. And we was going to tournaments. We was competing. I forgot the team we played up in Connecticut. They had Julius Hodge. They had Francisco Garcia.
The Ravens.
What was my man name? I went to Villanova. Alan Ray.
The Bronx Ravens.
The Bronx Ravens. The Bronx Ravens, yeah. So we played. We actually beat them in the Gauchos championship one year, and I had Davon Giles. He actually ended up going to Texas Tech.
Shout out to Davon Giles, man.
Yeah,
good
yeah.
dude.
So yeah, that was my best team I ever had with those guys because I had height and guards, and we beat Julius Hodge and Allen Ray and all of them in the championship, and it was like, oh, we won the Gaucho. You know, Gaucho was like. You win Gaucho, man. It's like
Gaucho Roundball.
Yeah, but we won that. And, you know, we was traveling, going to different tournaments. I had a lot of kids go to college. A lot of them went the junior college route, but a lot of them ended up going Division I out of junior college. So, you know, it was good. I kind of fell back from it with the AAU stuff because I became a coach at Central. And, you know, coaches started telling their kids, I don't play for Zoo Crew because they think I'm recruiting their kids, which I'm not. My whole thing is to get your kid exposure. I don't care if you go to Central or not. So I kind of fell back after I started hearing the kids saying, my coach told me don't come play for Zoo Crew, da, da, da. So I was like, you know what? I ain't even going to get into all that. I'm going to focus on my Central kids.
Wow, that's crazy. So we're going to get into the youth league later. But yeah, let's get into Newark Central. You know what I'm saying? When did you start coaching Central?
Well, I went there in 2003. I was I coached freshman and JV that first year, and I didn't even get paid, man. Like, because I was still working for Essex County Mental Health until 2005. So I went to Central in 2003, and the coach, this coach took over, Mr. Blue, he took over the year after I graduated. So I didn't play for him. He was actually coaching Westside when I played for Central, but he taught at Central. So he was my woodshop teacher. So he asked me, you know, I was coaching kids in the summer league, and he was like, why don't you come coach at Central? And I was like, all right, what I got to do to, you know, get into public schools? And he was like, oh, you got to fill out the paperwork, blah, blah, blah. So I went there as a volunteer in 2003 because my paperwork got denied because I had a charge that was still sitting on my, you know, when they ran my fingerprints, a charge came up, and it was from, that charge was from like 1989 at that time. So it was like 14 years old. And the board wouldn't let me in because of that charge. So I spoke to somebody that I knew in the board that saw what I was doing in the community, and they wanted to help me. And they told me what to do. They told me go get it expunged off your record and then come back and fill the paperwork out. So that first year I coached the freshman and JV. I didn't even get a stipend. Like, I didn't get paid. But it wasn't even about the money. It's never been about the money with me with coaching the kids. And then that next year, my paperwork went through. I had to put it back through, and it went in. Yeah, it went in, and I've been coaching ever since. So I did three years, and then my fifth year I became the head coach. No, my fourth year, because I'm gonna tell you, man, when I used to I run the summer league over here too. So when I went to tryouts at Central as a freshman and JV coach, it was a lot of kids in there. I ain't know one kid. Central was that bad. Like, I didn't know one kid that was trying out, and I thought I made a mistake because we went through that first season. Like I said, I was an assistant. We went 0-18. Our closest loss was 18 points. I mean, we was losing by 40, 50. And I was like, what the? And I wasn't used to this, you know, even as a player. You know, I was a competitor. And we went from 0 wins to 4 wins to 8 wins to the state final with 22 wins in 4 years. You know what I'm saying? So it improved every year, but a lot of my Zoo Crew kids start transferring to Central. You know what I'm saying? So by the time that senior year, that freshman class I had, by the time they left, they was playing in the state final. So those kids built up to, and I think I played a big part in that because I started 5 freshmen on JV, and my varsity coach was like, yeah, he like, what you doing? The juniors mad at you. I said, the juniors? He said, yeah. I said, what you mean? He said, well, those guys been here. They deserve to be starting on JV. I said, they in 11th grade. If they can't start varsity or play varsity, you know, I mean, I know we let juniors play JV, but I have 5 good freshmen. I'm trying to win games. I ain't trying to please, you know, somebody's ego. And it worked out. I mean, went to the state final that year. The AD was always trying to get the head coach out. And I was like, nah, no, I know Mr. Blue. I'm not on it like that. And they kind of made him leave. And then after we lost in the state championship to Brian Zubek that went to Duke.
Haddonfield, okay.
Yeah, Haddonfield. We lost to Haddonfield in the state final. And that year, Mr. Blue retired. And then I took over November 06 was my, 06, 07 was my first season as head coach.
Now, let's talk about that first season.
First season, I started off 0-5, man. I was going crazy, especially coming off a state championship. Well, we didn't win, but we won the sectionals, won our conference. We was competitive the year before, and then we started off 0-5, and I was going through it, man. I mean, 0-5, but it was close losses. We wasn't getting blown out. And then eventually we got back right, and we finished the season 14-12. We made the state tournament. I want to say we lost in the first round, but after that, I think I've only had one losing season in those 15 years. And, yeah, so, I mean, we've been competitive. Like, Central used to be, like, when I was doing AAU, I wouldn't send kids to Central, and that was my school because they were that bad. And I didn't, even though Mr. Blue was a good guy, I didn't think he was just doing it because I think it was just something he wanted to do because he was into basketball, but he wasn't progressing the program. You know what I mean? So I was sending the kids to Shabazz, like Davon Giles. I think the year they lost to St. Anthony's by 1 in the Tournament of Champions when Elijah Ingram was at St. Anthony's. And Elijah Ingram was one of my Zoo Crew kids. He went to St. Anthony's, but that whole Shabazz team that lost in the Tournament Champion final, they beat DeJuan Wagner that year in the semifinals. 8 of those kids was from my program because Shabazz was in the South Ward of Newark, and that was the area that I was living in at the time. So those kids came from my program. So I was putting a lot of kids over at Shabazz. And then once I got to Central, kids wanted to come to Central. So we've been competitive, every year,
Wow. That's big right there. You was helping out Shabazz even though you was coaching at the other school. No.
I wasn't.
This is prior to Central. Okay.
Yeah, I was doing AAU. So a lot of my kids went to all the other schools but Central. I had a couple of Central kids, but they was going to all the other Newark schools but Central. So now, if they don't go charter, most likely they come to Central.
Indeed. Now let's talk about, so fast forward some years later, and you got the chance to coach my guy Pat Cole, who is also a guest on the podcast. Talk about yeah, man, Pat. He was in one of my previous episodes. I got to hang out with Pat earlier last month at the Iverson Classic. He's doing big things down south.
Right.
Talk a little bit about what it was like coaching Pat.
Well, I mean, Pat played in my program as a 7th and 8th grader, so I already knew Pat, when he went to high school. And it was funny, man, because, Pat was, Newark Elementary League used to be big over here. It's kind of fell off a lot, but Pat was one of the better players coming out his 8th grade year. And his mother came up to me. She said, Coach, you the only person that hasn't called me about Pat coming to Central. I said, well, what you mean? And I'm like, well, what you mean call you? She's like, well, all the coaches are calling me trying to get Pat to come to this school. You haven't called me. I said, your son played for me. You know me. What do I have to sell? Like, either he's coming or he's not. And I'm one of those coaches where I don't go after kids, man. Like, if you want to be here in this program, then come. And I'm not babysitting you. I'm not patting your ego. You're gonna do it our way, or you're not gonna, this might not be the place for you. So, he went to, I want to say he went to Science first, Science High, Science Park, and they was just coming off 2 back-to-back Tournament of Champions. They lost to St. Anthony, St. Pat. So their program was thriving at the time. And then that didn't work out. He thought he was bigger than Science, but, he went to St. Anthony's his sophomore year. That didn't work out. So he ended up coming to Central during the sophomore season. And we stuck him on JV. We had a pretty good varsity, and he like, yo, I can play varsity. I'm like, nah, bro, you was at St. Anthony's playing varsity. We don't want no problems. You know, we got a good team. We're trying to do something here. So we stuck him on JV. And he probably was our best player in the program. But we didn't want to take the chance of playing him. And then somewhere down the line, they said we did some bulling, or, you know, he played on 2 varsity teams in the same season.
Yeah.
So we left him off. But
let me stash him over here.
yeah. But he played, you know, he played JV and he begged to play varsity. Pat was probably, his IQ for the game is so high level that it was just crazy, man. We clashed a lot, man. Pat is the only kid I ever threw out of practice ever. I'm talking about ever. Like, I don't care what I coached, summer league, he the only kid I said go home, because Pat would challenge you. And if he thought what he doing was right, he would do it. And I used to tell him, bro, you got to deal with the consequences. I call a play and you go somewhere else, you coming out. It ain't no, you know, and we clashed a lot, but we had that type of relationship. And we stopped watching film because of Pat, man. We used to point out the bad things that he was doing, and then he'd do something good, and he'd be in film like, man, I guess that was bad too. And I used to be like, yo, shut up, man. Because when you go to college, you can't talk in film. You know what I'm saying? Only the coaches talking in film. So Pat was a challenge. It took him a year to buy in. You know, we clashed a lot his junior year. His senior year, he bought into the program. We went to the state final. We won a championship. We had probably one of the best teams I ever had at Central. And we had guards, we had size, and we won the championship. We lost in the tournament of champions semifinals to St. Anthony's the year they had Kyle Anderson, Miles Mack, Lucky Jones, like, you know, and I think they went undefeated that year. We was down 4 at the half, man. I just knew we was going to beat these guys. And then, you know, we talking about Hurley, man. It kicked in, and he threw that defense on us. We couldn't score. We ended up losing by like 14. So, I mean, it was a great experience. You know, Bob Hurley, I take my hat off to him. Every time we run into each other, we have a great conversation, you know. And Pat was just, he was a good kid, man. He knew the game, and I thought he could have been a pro, but I think sometimes his attitude, and he didn't have a bad attitude, but just not listening kind of hurt him. But he went and became MEAC Player of the Year, and, you know, he got a shot to play overseas. So, but he was a tough kid to coach, man. He was a tough kid to coach.
Yeah, man. And now he's the one coaching.
And I told him that. I said, yo, you're going to be a coach one day. And he like, what you mean? You're going to be a coach. First of all, you know the game. You got a lot of energy. And you want things done your way. As a player, that's not going to happen, you know, unless you LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? That's a different story. But as a player, you got to listen to people. As a coach, you really ain't got to listen to too many people. It's your program. You can do what you want to do. And I told him you're going to be a coach, man, because you want to do things your way. And it's working for him.
Yeah, man, indeed. Now, let's fast forward a few years later. How did the opportunity to be on Best Shot come about?
It's crazy because July 1st, it'd be 4 years, I had this store. And that was 2017. So my store wasn't even open yet. So it was in June 2017, some Australian lady, and I just happened to be here. I don't know, you know, I didn't have no clothes or nothing in here. And she came up, I was standing outside, and she was like, are you Coach OG? And, you know, I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm looking at this Caucasian lady sitting, you know, over here, the number blocks. And if you hear somebody say number blocks is tough over here in Newark. So I see this Australian, you know, she had an Australian accent, but she Caucasian. And I'm like, yeah, I'm Coach OG. Why, what's going on? She was like, oh, I want to talk to you. We thinking about doing a documentary on you. So I said, documentary? I said, first of all, who are you? How do you know where to find me? I'm standing on 6th Street in Newark. I ain't telling, my store not even open. So how you know I was here? She said somebody sent her. We started talking, and she started asking me about my team, and, you know, then we just started getting into a conversation. We might have talked for an hour and a half. And then she said, somebody's going to call you in like a week. I said, somebody going to call me. So she's like, yeah, we think we got other coaches we have to interview. She said it was me, a coach from Philly, never told me who the coaches were. Coach from Philly, a coach from Brooklyn, and somebody else from New Jersey. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, Philly, Brooklyn, Newark, they ain't calling me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, Philly and Brooklyn nationally got a little bit more oomph than Newark. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't think they would call me. Somebody called a week later. They said my summer camp started right after the 4th of July. And it was like, we're going to come out to your summer camp. We're coming from L.A. And now I'm like, what? You coming from where? They're like, we coming from L.A. We coming to talk to you. I'm a producer. And I'm like, hold up, man. This stuff might be real. Like, I don't know what's going on. So they came about a week later. They talked to me. And it was like, yeah, coach, we're going to get back to you. We still got to talk to the other coaches. And I'm like, wow, so I'm really like one of the finalists? And they're like, yeah, like, coach, you got an interesting story. Blah, 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 blah. You work with the kids. We're looking for somebody that's community-oriented that work with the kids. So the last interview, they put me on like Skype or something. I had to bring my laptop, and I was talking to like 6 people. They was in LA, and they asking me, I'm talking about all types of questions, and I'm just, I'm answering them the best I can. I'm not adding stuff. I'm being who I am. You know what I'm saying? Either you're going to pick me or you're not. So, if not, I'm going back to, my regular life. And, it's not that serious. I didn't think it was that serious at the time. And then it was like, coach, we're going to get back to you. I said, get back to him. I said, so what's next? It's like, coach, we get back. They just left me hanging. So
without an answer.
They called me in like August 20-something. It was the end of August because we was about to go back to school. It was like, coach, how you doing? It's what was his name? Oh man, I just was talking to Michael Warren, and he was like, yeah, the coach is Mr. Warren. We're gonna do Central High School. We just gotta clear it with no public schools. Da 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 da. And I'm like, seriously? They're like, yeah. Then they start. I didn't even know LeBron James was part of the project. I didn't know Jay Will was going to be. That day, Jay Will, you saw the documentary. When he came in my fake office locker room, that was the first time I ever met him. I never even met him. So I didn't even know he was part of the documentary until he walked in that day. And I was like, oh, wow. He's like, yeah, coach, I'm here to help you out. And I'm like, oh, this is for real. You know what I'm saying? Because this is the prelims, like this tryouts and things like that. And when we played Orange on that first day, and I saw all them cameras, I said, oh, nah, this is real. So I was, it was a great experience. They wasn't in the way. The kids didn't get caught up in the hype. And we turned out to have a great season. You know what I'm saying? They came right at the right time, to be honest with you. Yeah, but it was, it was, that's how they found me. Somebody gave them my name and they reached out to me, and, that's how it happened. So I'm glad they picked me. A lot of good things then came out of it. And they actually was going to shoot Best Shot 2 this year, this past season, but COVID hit. So I don't know what they're going to do now.
Yeah, they got it. I mean, hopefully everything works out to where they actually do get to shoot it this year.
Well, I hope so. And I got a good team coming back, because even though we only played 14 games last year, we went 9-0 in our conference. We won the conference. We got conference champion. And I only graduated 2 seniors. We only had 12 guys because of the COVID.
They gotta bring that back.
I got 10 guys coming back, and I got like is in the city. So, hopefully they do come back.
Yeah, indeed. Now, I saw some great moments in that documentary, man. Like, you guys, I think you guys beat Newark West Side a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken.
On us 4 years prior to that, and they beat us in the Christmas tournament on there that we should have won. But they had our number for a couple of years, man. And for us we actually beat them twice that year. We knocked them out the county tournament. They didn't show that game. They showed the state tournament game, but we beat them 2 weeks in a row. You know what I'm saying? So that was big, like, because Westside, that's Cook, my man too, but that's our rival on the court, man. That's our rival.
Yeah, man. Shout outs to him and everything that he's doing over at Newark West Side.
Right.
For him to be on Oprah, that's big right there.
Ellen, he was on Ellen twice. I said, bro, you doing it. I said, my little YouTube thing, You done went way past that. He like, nah.
Yeah, like,
nah,
when you on Oprah and Ellen, like that's
Yeah, that's big. That's big.
Man. I got to get him on here too.
Yeah, Cook can do it. Cook doing some things. He doing some things.
Yeah, man. So that Duke trip, I felt like that scene, the fact that the kids were able to get out of Newark and actually be on a college campus, that was beautiful right there.
Yeah, and they didn't know. They didn't know. I think I forgot who we played. I think we just won the conference. And Jay Will was like, "Get ready, we going to Duke." They didn't know they was going to. I knew, but the kids didn't know. They like, "Where are we going to Duke? We don't gotta go to school for 3 or what?" So they was souped up. So just to see their faces, and it's like, it was amazing, man. That was an amazing experience for myself as well, because a lot of things we did I've never done before. Played golf. I'm down at Cameron Crazies. I hate Duke. I'm a Louisville fan, and he said. We went in the bookstore and he like, everybody pick a shirt, man. We gotta wear a shirt for the game tonight. And I'm like, coaches too? He like, yeah, you're gonna be sitting in the Cameron Crazies. You gotta have on a Duke shirt. I'm like, oh my God, yo. So it was tough for me to put that Duke shirt on, but I put it on. It was for the right reasons. You know what I mean?
And then, one of the saddest parts of that documentary is when Hadi found out that his pops passed away.
Yeah, man. And I knew his dad, man. And Hadi, my man. I love Hadi, man. Hadi's such a great kid, man. Like, yeah, and his mother called me, and I gave him the phone. His mother was like, "Where y'all at?" I was like, "Well, no." She called me before we got on the bus, and she said, "Tell Hadi his father passed." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, he did. Like he was like, she said, "Tell Hadi his father passed," and I'm like, "No, I can't tell him that. That's your job, I can't." I said, when we get on the bus, I'm gonna text you because he can't go nowhere, So if you tell him while we out and we was about to go to the game, and I told her wait till we get on the bus, so at least he's on the bus. He can't like run off nowhere, whatever. So when we got on the bus, I texted her and she called, and I'm like, "Hadi, your mother want to speak to you." And she told him, and I was like, everybody, the kids didn't even know what's going on. And, we got off the bus. We did a little group hug. Everybody said some good words to him. And we took his phone, so he can enjoy the moment and not be in the game and people calling him, things like that. So we took his phone and we gave it back to him. We got back to the hotel. But he was cool, man. He was good. It was that was tough in the beginning, but he fought through it, though.
What's going on with Hadi now?
Well, he's working now. He got a little chubby. He just had a pretty little baby girl. But he's doing good, man. Hadi gonna be okay. He got a lot of family support. He's a good kid. So he didn't want to go to college, and sometimes I tell kids college is not for everybody, but you got to be doing something. You can't just say I ain't going to college and then you're just gonna lay around your mother's house all day or not work and think people still gonna give you stuff. Because I said once you get out of high school and you're not playing sports anymore, people tend to forget about you. They're not giving you those, I'm gonna buy you these sneakers or I'm gonna give you $20 at the end of the game. That stuff goes away. And now you got to be an adult. So, but he's doing okay. He just had a baby girl. So he's with his girlfriend that he was going with at Central. So they doing okay.
Yeah. And shout outs to DN. I see him every once in a while playing for Skull Gang at Dykeman and a whole lot of tournaments, man.
Yeah,
shout outs to DN. That's my guy.
Yeah, I love DN too. I had a great group of kids that year, man. I'm not even gonna front. No headaches. Like academically, they all took care of business, except for a couple of them. But for the most part, that probably was the only team I had where majority, 90% of the kids, their grades were good. Usually it's 60% or something like that. But those guys were some great kids, man.
Yeah. And then you also had Zarik Nutter.
Yeah, Zarik. Me and Zarik never clicked, man. To be honest with you, like he never like I said earlier in the beginning, I let kids be who they are. I don't want you to act like you got to be something around me. I want you to be who you are because I'm gonna be who I am. And he just never came out of his shell. And a friend of mine, he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna get Zarik. He's gonna come to Central. at the time, he was an 8th grader at St. Benedict's, and I'm like, Zarik not coming here, man. Central, you know, people don't respect us like that, you know, to get a high caliber kid like that, you know. And when he came, I told my man, I said, he ain't gonna be here 4 years, man. You know what I'm saying? He was a good talent, but you know, outside forces got to him, and you know, start believing the hype.
And I peeped that in the documentary where the coach, whoever that was, didn't want to show his face.
That was the head coach, Mark. That was the head coach. That was Jay Will coach.
Wow.
Yeah, Jay Will told him. He said, I don't know if you could play for Mark. I played for Mark. He's tough. Wow. And you know,
so that's why they had to keep his face out the camera because he didn't want to bring no attention to himself. Wow.
Right. Yeah, that's who that was. But you know, Zarik had a good 2 years while he was with us, you know, and I just didn't like the fact, and I didn't even know he was about to transfer. And it's crazy because a lot of that stuff wasn't staged, man. Yeah. Like when me and Jay Will walked in the gym and he was like, we're going to talk to Zarik. I said, talk to Zarik about what? He said, Zarik thinking about transferring. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, transferring when? He said, right now. So I walked into that. Wow. And I was like, yeah, when his mom was in the gym, like that wasn't planned. They came and got me out the locker room, like we can really go talk to Zarik. But Jay Will knew because he was texting Jay Will. I guess he told the directors, and they like, oh, well, we need to get this on camera. And honestly, they kind of left out what I really said. I mean, they put in, you know, it's your decision. But I told them, bro, you got to figure it out because I got a bunch of other kids in here, man, and we got a good team, and I ain't really got time to be dealing with this right now. And if that's what you want to do, then do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
they should have put that in there, but you know they
ain't do it. They ain't do
it. They should have kept it all the way 100.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But you know, some of these camera crews are not gonna do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Well, they gotta make it look a certain way.
Right, and that happened too when, you know, when I was about to cry and the scene where right before we went to Rutgers, and I think we was in a locker room, and I told them, you know, they did the little thing about the kid, Kewan Savage. I got murdered, but he did some stuff, and I got suspended. And you know, people wasn't on my side, man. They didn't really have my back like they said they had it, because I could have came back, but you know, I even said some things in that, and they cut it out. But you know, probably would have. It was directed toward, you know, my principal and my athletic director at the time. So they kind of left it out. But you know, I'm keeping it 100. This is what it is. So, and when I said for me to be back at Central and going to Rutgers, I thought that would never happen. I thought I wasn't going to come back to Central after the little incident that happened. But I got back, you know, because I started telling them, schools calling me like, y'all gotta let me know, son. I lost 3 kids that transferred that would have been on that team, that went to other schools because they thought I wasn't coming back. You know what I'm saying? So I lost kids, and then, you know, I had schools calling me like, what you want to do? And a couple of them I said, well, what I got to do? It's like, just tell us yes. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying?
Calling for you.
Right, but Central was my home, and I'm like, I got to see what's going on here first. So I kind of went and told them, look, people calling me, man, what we going to do? Like, I'm about to get out of here. Like, and then a day later, they called me downstairs, said, you got your job back. A day later, I said, yo, I'm talking about they suspended me.
They couldn't afford to lose you. That's what it was.
But they never gave me no paperwork or nothing to say I was suspended. They just told me stay away from the team, but you could come work. You could work in the building every day, but you can't coach the kids. So you already knew that was some other stuff, man.
Yeah. But and then it's like after Zarik, you know, when he went to Benedict's, I don't know if you saw the documentary that they had on.
I saw it. I saw it.
Like, and I can see the difference between him at Central and him at Benedict's. With y'all, it was more love. It was camaraderie.
Right.
Benedict's, it was, I would say, as far as Coach Taylor and Coach Art, it was love there, but it was more business.
It was more business, yeah.
And it's like, business. I could tell that, like the same issues that you had at Benedict's when you were in high school, he had the same things too. But you could see that the streets was kind of pulling for Zarik.
Right.
A little bit. And he's like, and one of the episodes that I'll never forget, they actually named after the words that he said. He said, I'm no Benedict man. Yeah. And he was right. Benedict wasn't for him.
Right. Right. But they promised him they could do this and that for him, and he ended up going to St. Patrick's. So, I mean, or the Patrick School.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what happens.
He went to Patrick School, finished out, then St. Peter's, and that right there, that was shocking. Like, I expected him to play. Obviously, something went down over there with Shaw and them, and he wound up going to JUCO in Texas.
Yeah, he got into like 3 different incidents, and they just got fed up with it and told him, you know, you got to go.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
I mean, shout outs to Zarik. He's doing great out there in Clarendon College in Texas.
Yeah, he gonna end up D1 somewhere, you know, because he can play. He can play. He just got to get focused. That's all.
Yeah, man. So yeah, you know, you guys went all the way down to Rutgers and then lost that game. You know, talk about that whole season, that whole experience.
Well, the season, I mean, I always thought we were gonna have a good season because DN was a special player, man, and he was one of them kids. And I'm gonna tell you, right before the season started, he had texted me. He said, "Coach, can I play outside a little bit this year?" And I'm saying to myself, "Play outside." I text him back. I said, "DN, you playing the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5. Like, I'm not going to make you no center. Like, I know you can handle the ball. I know you can shoot." But he thought I was going to stick him in the post. And I'm like, "Nah, bro, you a mismatch problem. Like, for your size, people looking at you like, oh, this big guy, he can't move." He was quick on his feet. He knew he had moves. He knew how to play. He knew how to control his body. And I thought, with him and my point guard, Brill, who was our point guard since he was a sophomore, I thought we had a good nucleus of kids, and we had some good role players with Isaiah and Hadi and Quan. Omar, 5'10", man. He played like he was 6'5", 6'6". I loved Omar. And, you know what I'm saying? I just had kids that bought into the system, that listened and believed that we could accomplish what we accomplished, even though we lost in the state final, which I think you ain't going to beat nobody if they shoot 19 for 21 from the free throw line. But, you know, we played. Zarik didn't give us nothing that game. And the game plan we had, it's like they didn't follow it defensively. And, you know, we fell behind and we had to fight to get back. And, you know, it didn't happen. But I thought we had a good season. I told them we had a good season. We still won championships, even though we didn't win that one. And you got to be in the documentary. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of kids don't get this opportunity.
Yeah, man, shout outs to Jay Williams for including you guys in that, man. Like, that was big. And also, it's like I feel like the kids, they were able to relate to him because he's from Plainfield. Even though he looks like, you know, like affluence, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody would really know that he's from the hood too.
Right.
No one would really know. Yeah.
But I think St. Joe's played a part in that too, because he went to a Catholic school. So, you know, it's a different element, you know, when you're in a Catholic school. So, I mean, Jay was cool, man. The kids loved him. He still keeps in touch with Quan. Hadi, you know, has his numbers, so he's accessible to those guys. And
I forgot about Quan. What's going on with him?
He around, man. He on the gram, just flashing money, doing, you know, being Quan. He ain't doing much. He was working at Montclair State, but I think when COVID hit, it kind of messed him up because his mom works up there. So I don't think he's working right now, but he's still around.
Well, yeah, man.
And Isaiah,
great to see all these kids doing good. You know
and Isaiah on the dean's list. He on his third year at William Patterson now. Yeah, went to Bloomfield, and then he transferred to William Patterson because it was cheaper.
Wow.
But yeah, he's doing good. You know, got an adopted mom, like a councilwoman in Orange, New Jersey, saw the show, and he basically lived with them now. You know what I mean? It worked out for him, and you know, because Isaiah could have went either way. You know, he wasn't a bad kid, but just his situation with, you know, being homeless and things like that, he could have just gave up like a lot of other people do, and he didn't. So it's working in his favor right now.
Indeed, man. Now let's talk about. Speaking of councilman, you ran for Central Ward councilman. Talk about that. Talk about that experience.
I mean, politics is a dirty game, man. It's the streets, but you can't do street stuff because you're going to jail. You know what I mean? You can't do street stuff to people because politics will make you want to hurt somebody, man, because these people, it's just not right. And it was nothing I never really wanted to do. A friend of mine, you know, said you should do it. You get in there, we can get access to more things. You can help the community, da, 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 da. But as I got into the flow of it, the people that was into the politics, like that was deep rooted in the politics, was telling me, why you running? I said, I'm going to help the community. And they would tell me straight in my face, you can't help the people. What do you mean? Like, you can't help nobody. You here to make policies and do this. You can't actually, it basically seemed like they was telling me, like, that ain't what we doing. Like, we ain't helping nobody. We gonna help ourselves.
Just trying to make money.
We're just trying to make money. And I used to get into disagreements with some of these dudes, like, bro, you playing with people's lives. Like, just ain't, y'all playing. And they, you know what they used to say to me all the time? You got to learn how to play the game. I said, people's lives is not a game, man.
Crooked game.
Y'all playing with people's lives and people depending on y'all. Like, they really believe in you, and you come in the community and say, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And when I ran, I saw it was a lot of bull, but I still, you know, I still did what I did. I hit the areas that they told me people wasn't going to vote in. Those are the areas I focused on, because those are areas I came from. So if that's how you think about those people, I understand why urban America the way it is. Because if you think like that, I'm sure there's politicians around the country that think like that, and those are the forgotten people. So I tried to get in to at least bring some hope. You know, the first time I came in third, I forced a runoff, and I came in third to the current council person and someone who was already a council person but didn't win the last time. So I ran against experienced people with no money and almost pulled it off. And then the second time in 2018, I was in the runoff. You know what I'm saying? I was top 2 now. And I lost to the young lady that was on the mayor's ticket, the same mayor that I worked with at Central High School, the same mayor whose dad riled up the zoo crew back in the day, and you bring in and put somebody else on the ticket. Like, and I probably wouldn't have ran on the ticket anyway, because I'm just that type of person. Like, I'm not doing that, because it's like, I think I could win on my own. And I lost by 300 votes, man. And it's, you know, we had a little bit more money the second time, but they had millions of dollars, man. You know what I'm saying? And they pulled it off by 300 votes, and I'm still doing what I do. So it's not like some of the people I ran into, they switch sides because they want to get in City Hall so bad, and they'll do anything to get in because they know they're not going to be doing nothing for 4 years. And they're getting free money, you know, free access to different things. And I don't know. People keep asking me about 2022. It's not my dream, you know what I mean? To be a council person. So we'll see what happens, man.
You're doing your thing. You're helping the community. You don't need to be in politics to help the community. Right. So you're doing a wonderful job.
Right.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Now, that's what people tell me. People say, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the Zoo Crew Youth League.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, last year was the first. I started in '98, and I don't know if you're familiar with Vanessa Watson at used to coach Shabazz.
Yeah, I remember her.
Yeah, she used to do the girls' league at the park that I run the league at now, and she asked me, on another lady, Miss Kettles, would I run a boys' league on the other side? It was 2 courts, and I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. I started with one age group, I did 8th grade in high school, and every year it got bigger. I think I started with about 16 teams, maybe 8 and 8. I done had as many as 98 teams one summer, you know, out there from now I do all age groups. This year I'm only doing high school, JV, and varsity just to get back acclimated, you know, because of this COVID stuff. But yeah, I've had as many as 98 teams one year out there from 8 and under all the way to a college division. And we had a lot of pros came through that league, man. A lot of Division I players. Kyrie played out there with the Newark Rams and won a championship when he was in 8th grade. Carl Towns played out there for about 3 years, from 12 years old, from about 11 years old to 14 years old. Wade Baldwin played out there. All the Gibbs brothers, all the Aston Gibbs, Sterling. You know, we had Kyle Anderson played out there. Like, we had a lot of kids that then came through this league that people believed that's where the competition was at. And we're in the heart of the Central War where the riots was going on back in the beginning of that documentary, where we playing the summer league at. That's where the riots was taking place at. Those projects, they not there no more. That's not the ones I grew up in, but they was down the hill from where I grew up. But we're in the heart of the Central Ward, and we had people from suburbs coming out there, just sitting out there having fun, you know, just watching the games. And it was real competitive. It was real competitive. So, you know, I started in 98. We missed a year. So this will be 23 years. So 22 years really after take out the COVID years. So it's be 22 years that I had the league.
Now, what days does the league run? You know what I'm saying? Tell the people where it's at.
It's on Springfield Avenue in Newark. There's a block up from St. Benedict's Prep. It's 2 courts. They just did the courts over. It's going to be on Sundays this year. We have a website, zukubasketball.com. You can go up there. We got all our Zuku stuff up there. And right now I got 14 teams. I wanted only 12 just to scale it down, but I got 14 varsity teams. And right now I have 5 JV teams. So I'm sure I'm going to get, I want 8 JV teams. So I wanted to take 20 teams total, but I'll probably get like 22. But that's really a downsize because I average about at least 50 to 60 teams a year, you know. But this year, I'm because of COVID, I don't want to deal with the, you know, all the restrictions. You got to do this. I'm not really into all that stuff. Like,
yeah,
you know, I want to do it the way I do it, you know. But I know it's, you know, it's restrictions, so I'm gonna just limit the teams, and then next year try to go back full throttle.
Yeah. Now, what day will the Zoo Crew League start?
June 27th. It's only going to be on Sundays. I might start the 26th just because we're going to lose that Sunday because of the 4th of July next week. So just to get it, you know, I don't fall behind a week because I only do it once a week. I used to do it on Saturday, Sundays all day, and then make up games like if it rained or something I would have during the week. So this year everything's going to be outside and we're only doing Sundays.
All right. What's the name of the park again?
Not Jesse. I'm sorry. Hank Aaron Sports Complex.
Copy.
That's the name of it. Hank Aaron Sports Complex.
Indeed.
But the kids just say Springfield Ave. They don't know Hank Aaron. They don't know, you know. That's what the league is on Springfield Ave, the Zoo League.
Indeed. Now, let's talk about your current players at Newark Central. You know, tell us about some of the standouts that you may have right now.
Well, I got 2 of the top seniors and probably the best. Well, they juniors now, but they'll be seniors next year. So I'm gonna just say juniors. I got 2 of the top juniors, Kyrie Brown and Zamarion Singleton. They were my top 2 scorers this year as juniors. And you know, Zamarion is like 6'4". Man, you leave him open, he's knocking it down. He got a stroke out this world, man, but he won't drive to the basket. That's my only problem with him. But but we working on that. But he can shoot that ball. He rebound. You know, he tough. He's a 4.2 student, so he's going to college, and I mean he'll be going to college somewhere. Academically, they're trying to get him to get, but he wants to go certain places for basketball. But his academics might take him a little further than actual basketball, but I think he can play Division I somewhere. But the way his GPA is and the classes he's taking, he could end up at a Duke academically, you know, not playing basketball, but he Ivy League. He that type of kid as far as academics. And Kyrie Brown, that's probably my best player coming back. Boy could play, man. He's like he reminds me of the kid that used to be with the Lakers. I want to say D'Angelo Russell. No, not D'Angelo Russell. What's the kid that played with Karl Towns? Minnesota. What's the guard? Young boy. I can't think of his name, but he a scorer, man. He can score. Anytime we need a bucket, he going to half court and we clean it out for him and something good gonna happen. So we looking for big things for him next year. Hazir Lee, he's very good. Once he understands team concept, he could be a great player because he's one-on-one fast break. He's scoring on anybody. Now he's dunking, so he think he you know, he just think he could fly and dunk on anybody. But those are my top 3 players coming back. All guards. I really don't have any bigs. I never really get blessed with a big man, but I love my guards because I think if you don't, I don't care how big guards we got, we you know, it might be a problem. 32 minutes. And I got a couple of other players that's going to play their role. I got a freshman kid. He didn't play this year. His brother was a senior, Tata. Tata was the only player left from. He was a freshman that year. We shot best shot. He graduated. He's graduating next month. Well, this month, June. He's the only player left from the best shot. The kid with the thick dreads. And his little brother is a freshman, but he had to sit out because he had some type of. But he's projected point guard next year as a sophomore. So let's see what happens. But it's the first year we didn't have a freshman team, so I don't know, you know, what that's going to look like next year with the freshmen. I only knew one freshman because it was hard because, you know, there was no in-person, so I don't know the kids that came in the building. So we didn't have an elementary league last year, so that hurt us. Years we ain't gonna know the 7th and 8th graders. There's no programs outside of Zukru in this town for basketball, and that's bad.
Said. Yeah, man. So this is one of the questions that I love to segue into before I lead up to the final question. If you could go back in a time machine to, I'll say 1990, what would you tell a young Shawn McCray as he's trying to get through school, but also dipping and dabbling in the street life? What would you tell yourself at a younger age?
Well, I would have told myself to, you know, you're about to graduate college. You need to get focused. And I always tell kids, you know, that 90 to 98 that I didn't really work in my field or, you know, start my career, I tell them I'm 8 years behind right now. So I've been working. I did 7 years, you know, with mental health, and then I did. I'm like my 16th year in at the board, so I got 23 years in working straight now. I could have 31 years in right now if I wouldn't have, you know, wasted those 8 years in the streets. I probably could retire right now and, you know, still work another full-time job, but sitting back collecting my pension until I'm of age, you know, to get my Social Security. So I would tell myself to, you know, just get focused. You know, you caught a couple of charges. You actually throwing your life away by, you know, still being in the streets, you know, and you're about to graduate college. So I probably would have just told myself to be more focused and be patient. You know, everything that you're trying to get right now, you can have that years from now if you just do the right thing.
Final question. What's next in the future for Shawn OG McCray?
That's tough, man, because I've been fighting with it, man, because I'm 54, and I consider myself still young. I don't know, man. I just want to do other things, man. I want to focus on a facility. I want a gym. You know, I just lost one of my good friends and a staple in the community, and Malik Jones. He would coach with me for Zukru for the past 20 years. And he just passed away on May 16th, and I'm still trying to come to grips with that because we run a camp, and, you know, he was the focal point of the camp. Like, the camp was his thing. I was just administrative when it came to the camp. He did all the drills. He hired the people that worked. And Pat worked at the camp for a couple of years. And, you know, I always been trying to pull away from Zukru and try to do something else. And Malik used to always be like, nah, we're not done yet. We got to keep doing it. We got to get a gym. We got to get a facility. And, you know, I always wanted to do it. I wrote a book. I never have time to work on my second book, my part 2 of my book. So it's just a lot of things I want to do. And I don't think I'm getting no younger. But, you know, coaching high school basketball, I don't think I'll ever give that up until it's like, you know, the times have just passed me by. And I don't have no relationship with the kids. And it's just time to go. But right now, I don't think it's that time. But I don't know, man. I'm at a point in my life. I'm at a midlife crisis right now because, you know what I'm saying? I want to do other things, but it's still some things that need to be done here, man. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna go back to AAU starting in next year because he passed away, and he always wanted to do AAU, and he became a high school coach as well, and we kind of fell back from that. But I see that that's a missing thing here in this city. Like our kids are not being showcased the way they should, and I think we need a AAU program. I keep trying to get the city to start one because they got the money, but we talking politics again, and that's not the focal point. The community, so. I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm at a midlife crisis right now. I don't know what I really want to do, but I want to do something. You know what I'm saying? For myself, too. I want to do things for myself. And this COVID thing gave me a lot of time to think and reflect because I was stagnant. I couldn't do nothing. And I never really sat around. In the past 20, 25 years, I was always on the go. And this made me sit back and say, you know what? You need to start doing some things for yourself, because you ain't getting no younger.
Indeed. No matter how old you get, you'll always be the OG.
Yeah,
Coach.
Man. I get that love, man. I mean, people tell me, politically you can't touch a lot of these people, but street credibility, a lot of these people can't touch you. So you got the credibility that they trying to get. And the things they have, you probably really don't need because you're accessible in the community, and that's what the community needs. So, I take heed to what a lot of people say, but I don't like losing, man. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. I try to come back with another game plan and figure it out. Like I said, in 2014, I lost. I finished third. And then 2018, I was right there. I was in the, I finished 300 votes. I was second. And, who knows what could happen in 2022, but do I want to do that work? It takes work to beat these people with limited amount of resources.
Indeed. Coach, thank you for coming on to share your testimony. And I wish you, Newark Central, and the Zoo Crew League nothing but the best moving forward.
Okay, I appreciate you having me, man. So I could check this out where on YouTube?
Yeah.
It'll be up and I can share it on my page or whatever?
Yeah, it's going to be up later this week.
Okay, and let me real quick, ZooCrewAllAmerican.com. That's my website for our clothing. It's ZooCrewAllAmerican.com. We ship anywhere in the country. We got a lot of Zoo Crew apparel, a lot of regular clothing. If you're interested, support. Some of the proceeds go back to our Zoo Crew basketball program. So if you could support, we really appreciate it.
Indeed. Well, everybody, this is episode 126 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Shout outs to Coach OG, Shawn McCray, for coming on to tell his great story. So everybody from Newark, New Jersey, Newark Central, and everywhere in Jersey, go support this man. Go buy some great products at the Zoo Crew store. Go support the league. Go support Newark Central, and go support that book, 1 Foot In, 1 Foot Out by Shawn McCray, right. The autobiography. Go check that out now. Everybody, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.
Appreciate you, yo.